It's another beautiful time, and it's so good to have you join us on Journalist Roundtable. This beautiful Monday evening. Well, I don't know, but then I think the nation is getting more serious with what is happening from the National Assembly. Sometimes you will think Nigerians will say a particular thing and they go relax about it, but Nigeria seems not to be going back as it has to do with the issue of the Senate's rejection of the e-transmission of result real time. My name is Ramsey Agbo, and of course, this is Journalist Roundtable. On the Roundtable today, I will have two guests join me on the program. Joel Oladile is a journalist and, of course, a public affairs analyst is going to be joining us via Zoom, while we will have Bernard Essen, a journalist and also a political analyst, join us live in the studio. Can we look at certain things? Remember, on Journalist Roundtable, we'll look at emerging headlines, what's making round on the news platforms, all right? This morning, we brought you a little review of the newspaper. You know, because of time, we couldn't look at detailed analysis. But right now, we'll bring you some analysis from things happening right in Nigeria. And very soon, we will also be bringing you stories from around the world. But then, I think it is one thing to talk about, and that is the e-transmission of at least our electoral results. You know, before now, a lot of Nigerians have said so many things about free and fair election. Even the very little child born in Nigeria today will tell you what transmission of result is, what rigging is, and they will also tell you what it means for an election to be free and fair. I think one of the parastatals that, one of the bodies that most Nigerians are familiar with is the Independent National Electoral Commission, that is INEC. A lot of people seem to know INEC too well because INEC is the body showed with the responsibility of conducting elections in Nigeria. So people talk about INEC here and there. If you go to some schools or you ask some persons, who is the INEC chairman? They will tell you Joash Amopitan. Even though he just assumed office not too long, a lot of people have forgotten about Mahmoud. But then, if you could remember, let me take us back a little bit, beginning from 2015, when election was conducted in Nigeria. Then we'll also talk about the takeover and the process of election in Nigeria. At what point can we say an election is free? And at what point can we say election is not free and fair? One of the first things that Amupitan talked about when he came into office was the transmission. Election being free and fair. He didn't talk about transmission. I think the last time the issue of transmission was discussed in Nigeria was 2022. All right, 2022, after the then president came into office. All right, there was a bill that was passed, and of course, now it is time for the review, and we all see what is happening right now. Just like a joke, the National Assembly resumed, the Senate resumed, and everyone was expecting to hear a good news because people have said in 2023, some elections were not transmitted real time, and they said, well, it is not part of, all right, what was agreed. Electronic appliances were actually used. Sometime it fails. I could remember, I think, let me take us back a little bit during the era of Jonathan. The first person that the, what is it called, card reader failed on was the president himself. Were you not surprised about that? The number one citizen who is supposed to be the first person to vote, it was from his time when he was trying to cast his vote. And you know, when the president wants to cast his vote, there are a lot of media houses, a lot of people went to Otueke, his hometown, where he actually cast his vote. But then the card reader then rejected the thumbprint, all right, of the then president. And a lot of people, that circulated into the media space, and people from other places had reasons to bring up the same complaint. You know, if the card reader used by the president failed, then what are you saying about people in the hinterland, people in villages? Because some people have already said the rigging of election happens mostly in the hinterlands, in villages. But now, as the case is, there is tension everywhere. Not just in FCT, but all over Nigeria. And this is because the NLC promised there was no going back as far as the e-transmission of election result in real time is concerned. What Senate is saying, they said it's none of their business. And you know, Nigerians, there was a promise that today being Monday, Nigerians were going to hit the street in protest. And that was exactly what happened. Do you know where the protest started from? Majorly, the protest, people gathered in front of the National Assembly, and there was a massive protest. A lot of tension mounted in Abuja. Why? Because hundreds of Nigerians took to the streets to protest what they describe as an unjustified delay. All right, unjustified delay. First of all, there was a recession, there was a resumption, they went back on break again because of one or two issues, and that is the passing of some of the members. On return, Nigerians were expecting something palatable, but then, what did they hear? They said it was, if in the papers, a lot of people describe it in so many ways. Birth. It has been looked at as unjustified delay. The reason why there is delay in the passage of the bill is left to the National Assembly, and Nigerians said, no. We can't keep quiet anymore. And some activists, some Nigerians, some youth hit the street, and they went straight to the National Assembly to say, well, this is unjustified delay by the National Assembly in passing the bill on electronic transmission of results in real time. That's election results. We need this transmitted in real time. But now, let's look at it from different angles. I've had a guest on my program who actually talked about the fact that the transmission, all right, happened. And people gathered at the National Assembly. I believe the MCR should have of that clip when people were protesting at the National Assembly. And as a matter of fact, the electronic transmission of election result is something that a lot of Nigerians have been waiting for it to happen. A move, all right, protesters call a threat to transparency in elections and a threat to credibility ahead of future polls. Not just the polls that is coming up at the FCT council election, not just that. What about 2027? A lot of permutations going on as far as 2027 is concerned. But then, I want us to really watch that video before we go deep into the conversation today. One of our reporters was actually out there to cover the report. Samuel Odi was there for Global Television. And of course, we'll bring you that, we'll play that video so that you can see the reaction of people. A lot of prominent persons were there, the likes of the 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, was there. Peter Obi is no longer in Labour Party, is in ADC, and of course, well, I don't want to go deep into that. Let's just concentrate on the protests going on, because Nigerians say, well, with this, it is intentional that election cannot be transparent and credible at the future polls. All right, even in 2027 FCT election, every council election in other states will not happen. All right, we have that video right there. We'll give you sound so that you can hear what the people are saying. I'll return.
Protesters drawn from civil society groups, youth organizations, and pro-democracy advocates converged on key routes leading to the National Assembly complex, chanting solidarity songs and carrying placards with interpretation such as "Our votes must count," "No more electoral delays," and "Pass the e-transmission bill now." They accused lawmakers of deliberately stalling the reform to protect vast political interests, warning that failure to act swiftly could undermine public trust in electoral processes. Addressing newsmen, Labour Party presidential candidate in the 2023 elections, Peter Obi, threw his weight behind the protesters, describing the delay as a setback to Nigeria's democratic growth and urging lawmakers to listen to the voice of the people.
On that election day, the result must be transmitted from the polling booth to the RF.
Protesters insist that electronic transmission of results remains critical to safeguard against vote manipulations, especially in remote and high-risk areas. Aisha Yusuf, a human rights activist and the executive director, Center for Transparency Advocacy, Faith Mwadashi, called on lawmakers to prioritize national interests over partisan consideration and immediately condone work on the bill.
They have the constitutional power and authority to indeed ensure that there's real-time electronic transmission of results. That is all Nigerians are asking for.
We are here to remind them that we have the votes, we have the ballot, and it is us that decides. People talk about the power of the gavel, but I tell you the power of the ballot is higher than the power of the gavel, because without the ballot there will be no gavel.
What we're just pulling out is that we want electronic transmission real time.
Civil society organizations also vow to sustain peaceful pressure, insisting that the protest marks the beginning of a broader civil engagement campaign until the National Assembly assures full legal backing for the electoral transmission of election results. Samuel Odi for Global Television News.
Well, you can see that Nigerians are not ready to go back at all. All right, I have Joel Oladile joining us right now via Zoom. He's a journalist and also a public affairs analyst. Hello, Joel. It's good to have you join us on Journalist Roundtable.
All right. Good evening, Ramsey. Nice having me on the show today. I don't know if you can hear me clearly. It's raining over here.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right.
I can hear you loud and clear.
All right. Good to be on the show this evening.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Good evening. All right.
Now, let's get to the protest going on at the National Assembly, as a matter of fact, because of the in-transmission of election results. Nigerians have hit the streets, including prominent individuals like Aisha Yusufu, the likes of Peter Obi. We saw that clip flying everywhere on social media, saying, well, this needs to be passed because it is a hindrance, a threat to transparency and credibility ahead of future polls. What do you think? What's your holistic view about this whole situation?
All right. So the beautiful thing is our democracy is growing. You know, that's one of the things democracy does when the masses are permitted or legally permitted to voice their opinion. Is a government of the people for the people. Someone cannot just be at one corner and take decisions that binds on the entire nation, and is the beauty of democracy. So it's a welcome development. It is expected because if you look at the 2023 general elections, one of the major setbacks that brought about a lot of legal litigations here and there was this e-transmission of the election results. So And Nigerians have been waiting. You know, when this matter went to court and there was a legal battle back and forth, one of the technical grounds on which let me say the ruling party currently defeated the opposition then was the fact that there was a caveat in that electoral act of 2022, which is that INEC was not mandated to transmit election results electronically. Like they have the choice to either transmit it electronically or to do it manually the way they've been doing it. So on that ground, the opposition, or let me say people that took the winning party, the current ruling party, to court, and it cut across not just on the presidential election, it cut across board, even at the state House of Assembly election, National Assembly election. Some people lost their cases due to this caveat in that section of the law. So Nigerians have been waiting that, okay, since there will be room for another electoral reform, then this aspect of the constitution that people are hiding under should be addressed. So I'm not surprised when last week, the National Assembly, Senate to be precise, had to maintain the status quo, that the way it was in 2022, that is the way they want it. You understand? So I wasn't too surprised when I saw that coming. I mean, when I saw that, when they did that, because I actually saw it coming, they wouldn't want it because it is like they leverage that caveat just to do away with whatever atrocity they want to commit, you know. And Nigerians have been waiting that let's see how they will go about it this time around. It is somehow disappointing that this is happening because just like many other Nigerians, I've also been waiting that, okay, this aspect will be looked into, it will be corrected, and then there won't be a way out for anyone to rig election again in Nigeria. But as it is now, that seems to be the only avenue for politicians to rig election, and they don't want to do away with that. If they do it, many of them will not be back. That's the truth of the matter. Many of them will not be voted back, and they don't want that to happen. And
All right.
one thing I just
There is, I don't
one
know,
disappointment.
in one of the papers today, we had it that 3,000 senators block real-time result transmission. But from what you're saying, you know, there are certain things that we need to put into consideration as far as this transmission is concerned. What would you say about a situation whereby in some remote areas where the network is not stable? And you know, the issue of internet services in Nigeria, how unstable it is. Don't you think that that could also result to some form of manipulations, which will result to electoral malpractice at the end of the day?
Oh, perfect. I have heard people defending that as well, and it's quite unfortunate that in 2026, Nigeria is still at this level of, you know, being limited by internet to do anything we want to do. It's quite unfortunate. But then I could remember when this issue was brought up before 2023 general election. Professor, the former INEC chairman, was telling the media, if I can still get some of the papers that reported that this particular RF of 18 doesn't really require strong network to operate. Even anywhere you see one bar, it will only slow down, but it will still work. It was part of the assurance given by the former INEC chairman because journalists actually asked this question, that how do you intend go about rural area of Nigeria where there is challenge of internet, poor internet. I mean, yes, and he said that there won't be any issue that IRF Beaver don't really need strong network to operate. So it's something they really need to look into. What has changed about that promise made by INEC? Is it that the IRF now need 5G network to operate? They need to come out and tell the citizen these things. They need to address it so that they shouldn't just come up and say the idea of people will say bobo. They shouldn't come and bobo us with network wahala. They should address it, whether the IRF they promised Nigeria to deliver transparent and credible election now depends on 5G network to operate. If that's the case, then we need to look away. Then it's a challenge to the body in charge of network in Nigeria. That's precisely NCC. What are they doing so that at this age we don't have this issue of internet in our rural community? Everybody in this current age deserve access to strong internet anywhere, regardless of where you are in the country. So I really don't want to believe that excuse. If that excuse is what they want to use, then it means they might even be preventing Nigeria from being free from this challenge of internet. Since they hold the cutlass, they hold the yam, they hold the knife, they hold everything. So they just have to let their conscience, you know, guide them in whatever they do. But as for me, I really don't want to believe that internet should be a major thing. Going by what INEC chairman said prior to 2023 general election.
Right. Let's get to the issue of protest now. Not just, these are well-spirited Nigerians, okay, well-spirited Nigerians who really want to take the bull by the horn, going out hitting the street in protest. This is happening at the seat of power. FCT is where this protest is happening, right in front of the National Assembly. NLC also, which is one body that Nigerians see as a body that if they support any protest, the protest is going to go a long way. If care is not taken, if this is not done, a nationwide strike might be declared if NLC is really at the center of the whole thing. Now, what do you think about protest? Is that the best way to go? Are we going to get results? Going by what is happening right now, you just saw Peter Obi in that video, saw Aisha Yusufu and some very prominent content creators like Peter's. You can see all of them right there. And there are other persons behind the scene. You see that the lawyer there, the barrister, and every one of them. But then, how effective do you think this process is going to go? Even though we heard that the Senate has announced that it will hold an emergency plenary sitting, and that's going to be tomorrow. We don't know if it is because of this protest, but a lot of people are saying it is because of that, but we don't know yet. Holistically, what do you think of Nigerians protesting concerning issues like this? Would it yield results? Oladile, can you hear me?
Hello? Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right.
There was a kind of interruption.
I was asking
All
a
right.
question. The protest is on. There is going to be somehow a sitting, an emergency plenary sitting tomorrow by the Senate. But then, looking at the kind of people that are out for this protest, even NLC also supporting the protest and all of that, do you see this protest yielding any results? You know how it happens in Nigeria when the Senate decides to hold on to a particular resolution.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. I think if I got you right, I started this conversation by saying it's a good thing that our democracy is actually advancing, you know, due to the fact that people can come out and say, no, this is our government. We need to let you know what we don't want. And I think I need to give it to the current administration to some extent when it comes to listening to citizens. On few occasions, I noticed that whenever people come out to protest or to talk about certain policy, somehow they act like they listen to us, unlike the immediate past administration. Sorry to say that particular. Hello, are you with me? Hello.
Go ahead.
Okay. Unlike the immediate past administration, that to me was like military government. Let me put it. I'm sorry to say without, or let me say without any apology, because whenever citizens protest over anything, whatever it is that they wanted to do is what they go ahead. But on few occasions, I have seen this current government yielding to the protest, to the clamoring of people whenever they come out like this. So I want to believe this is a way of sending message to them that no, this is what we want, even if they cannot do it 100%. To some extent, I want to believe they will have to go back to the drawing board and do something about this electronic transmission mandatory. Let me include that mandatory electronic transmission of election result. So let's be hopeful that they will hear us, they will see us, and then something will be done. Going by the caliber of people that we have there, the 2023 presidential candidate of Labour Party was there today. I don't want to. I don't know whether he's still there currently, but I saw him in the video. I saw him on social media and everywhere, and some other big notable citizens like that. So I want to appeal to the government. This is democracy. If you want to govern as saying this is the way we want it, even if you can't give them 100%, since you are the leader, you see better than them. You may know what they don't know. But then, to some extent, all of them cannot be wrong. There will be voter party, in 2027 if this is not corrected. A lot of people will lose interest in coming out. One of the major reasons, if you check our electoral uh, history in Nigeria, people only come out to vote whenever they believe that their vote counts. But the moment they have this, they are skeptical about their vote being counted or not. They will not come out to vote. If we go ahead into 2027 election like this without this issue of mandatory transmission of election result being addressed, there will be, votes a party in 2027. A lot of people will not come out, and that will not be good enough for us as a citizen, as a
Oh,
country.
okay. Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Thank you very much, Joel Oladile. We're still going to be treating all the topics. This is somehow, I don't know whether this has translated into the reduction of the price of commodities in the market. On one of the papers today, we had it that manufacturers record 1.8 trillion naira on sold goods. Okay, why? Because there is a fall in demand. Okay, demand slump resulted to that. What do you think? What's a reaction to that? How would you analyze that?
Oh, I think that's expected, seriously expected. This is just a basic economy. In a situation whereby the purchasing power is reduced due to inflation, then that will definitely happen. Demand will drop, and supply too will be affected. So that is just the what the manufacturers are going through is the fallout of the economic situation in the country. Majority of common men on the street cannot actually afford their basic needs, not because they don't need it, but because they can't really afford those basic needs. So a lot of people are coming up devising other means of surviving rather than depending largely on what money can buy in the market. So when you have a situation like this, a manufacturer that is producing 100 pieces of a commodity before and taking it to the market where 100 people, 100 pieces of such commodity is needed. Now, 20 out of 100 of such consumers can no longer afford it. So what happened to the remaining 20? So the purchasing power has been seriously affected. Let's just look at it. You use yourself as an example, and I know it's the same with majority of Nigerians. Many of the things you could afford to buy in the years back, currently now, before you go to market, you have to sit down and make your list. I've forgotten what they call that kind of list in the economy in those days. And then before you know it, you begin to have alternative for gun. The alternative for guns are not things you don't need. They're the things you feel are less important. So this moment in the country is the survivor. Our survivor instinct has been activated. All we are interested in is the most important things that we need to survive, not luxury. A lot of us can no longer afford luxury. A lot of Nigerians can no longer, we've forgotten, luxurious life is long forgotten. We are now, I just hope we get out of this as soon as possible. It's my prayer that we get out of it. I think to some extent, things are looking better. Let me put it that way. I need to say that compared to what it was in 2024 and early 2025, to some extent, even if I'm a journalist as well, and I do all these reports once in a while, but then we are not there yet. The purchasing power of an average Nigerian has drastically dropped due to the economy um, policy of the current administration, and that is the fallout. I mean, what is affecting the manufacturers too. If care is not taken, a lot of a lot of companies will be closing down. Anyway, we have been seeing that, and I have a brother who works in a manufacturing industry too. Each time we talk about stuff like this, he complains about how their sales have dropped over the time, and I can actually relate with what is really going on. The company, as I speak to you, is battling to survive in the country.
We're being made to understand that the price of commodities in the market has dropped. Don't you think that's a welcome development because demand reduced?
The price actually, some of the, especially for foodstuff, price of foodstuff, that's local foodstuff actually, because there are some imported material. Should I call? How will I put it? The as far as manufacture product, let me put it that way. Like I don't want to mention name of brand in particular. There is no majority of this canned food and some other things. The price have not changed. I mean, the prices have not changed. It's still as high as anything as the way it was in 2023, 2024. So it's only if you are talking of drop in the price of food stuff, then you can be talking of maybe rice, beans, and some of our locally produced food. Aside that, other things are still up. And I don't want to believe that the local manufacturers are the ones complaining about these particular statistics that is being reported in that newspaper headline. Majority of such statistics is as a result of people producing canned food and some other things like that, which the price, nothing has happened to the price. It's still unaffordable for majority of the citizens.
Joel
And
Oladile.
for as long as it's still, those ones are still unaffordable, then the demand will drop. Just like I said earlier, the purchasing power will no longer be there, then the demand will be affected. Hello, are you with me?
Is a journalist and also he's a political affairs analyst. It's good to have you join us, Ben Essen.
Thank you so much for having me, Ramsey.
Well, despite your busy schedule, you made out time at least to rush and meet up with the program. That's exciting. Well, let's talk about manufacturers are complaining. As a matter of fact, 1.8 trillion naira unsold goods because demands slumped. What do you think? Because some people will say, well, that is going to have a negative impact on the economy because the people will not sell, they won't make profit, and it won't contribute to the country.
Well, when you look at how government are really giving out, maybe trying to make their economic policies, one will need to really look at the purchasing power of the citizens. And subsequently, at the end of the day, you really want to ask, what has the 70,000 naira that has been increased, what has it done? You know, the issue of 133 million poorest of Nigerians, I know the proverbial statement of people living between $1 or $2 in a day, and subsequently trying to look at how poor Nigerian is. It is because the money is really not enough. Now you see people, the perception of trying to, when you go out from your home, you really want to look at how much you have, if it is going to take you and bring you back. So that is why I really think that the government should be able to look at how beneficial it is for the citizens to get the best when it has to do with doing, okay, let's ask ourselves, how many people successfully were able to do Christmas very well in the morning, in the afternoon, and even take their awards or family outside to recreational centers? So these are some of the indicators that when you look at what the policy is, you really think that the grassroots are really not getting the best. But for me, objectively, I really think we should work on numbers. How many people are poor? You look at last administration, when you look at when you are giving people paying market money, 5,000 and the rest, will that be safe, sustainable? The answer is no. But I do know that the people, as I speak to you, are really not smiling. People have like 5 kg of cylinders. How many people have been able to fill their gas cylinders, the 5 kg? What you go in the gas station, you see in the gas station is 1 kg, 2 kg. These are the problems. And you cannot use about 50% of your income to fill gas because you need to meet some other expenses. I really think the government should dig deep and see how they can help the citizens, because a vocabulary, when it has to do with the economies, will not help matter. And that's why when you look at the leaky bucket theory, you know that you are investing more, but something or some channels elsewhere is really the resources or the money or the revenue is being from going out from another channel. And that is why we really have to do basic things that will help the citizens grow, especially in terms of welfare.
All right. As it is right now, there are so many things. We already talked about the protests going on at the National Assembly because of the intransmission of election results. But now, let me take you to something else. On one of the papers today, the president had been traveling. But this travel now is based on King Charles' invitation, according to what we have in the National Daily. Some persons were already complaining that how can the presidency spend 34 billion on just travels? But then we have a lot, all right, to do outside the shores of Nigeria, as it has to do with diplomatic relations, bilateral relations, and of course, collaboration like Nigeria is somehow doing now with the United States because of the security situations that we have in the country. What do you make of the president's travel? He just came back. He's gone this time even with his wife. And according to the papers, is the King Charles invitation that is making him to go. And this has not happened in a while. If you look at the history, well, taking us back memory lane.
Well, I really want to look at it. Every typical Nigerian president has to travel. He has a right to travel. But when you look at his predecessor, late President Muhammadu Buhari, who traveled over 51 times, according to the statistics I have. And at the end of the day, we might likely see what has that brought into the economy. These are some of the issues. And subsequently, I really think also the president should be able to look at if he is drawing, maybe his chief protocol is trying to draw some of these journeys, which one is more pressing, something he really has to do. Now, let's go back during the era of COVID-19. Were there journeys there? The answer is no. The likes of former Senator Dino Melaye once said that declared a particular amount that is being spent in holding Zoom meeting with the governors and the president. So you really know, can we now say, okay, let the president suspend some of his international trips so that he can stay at home and give the people the assurance and dividends of democracy? Because when the commoners, when the citizens, when the civil societies are now asking, where is our president? Then who is going to answer? Is it the likes of Bayo Nanunga that is going to answer, or Daniel Boala? These are the things that when you ask yourself, we can as well be from one spot. That is where the likes of Google is. That is where from one spot, people are organizing their purchasing power and they are selling their services all over the world. Can our president do the same thing? The answer is yes. We have the population, but what I really think is my major concern, when you travel for over 20 days, and the other time I think he traveled and the vice president also traveled, and you begin to ask, is there something that the presidency is not really telling us? We want a dividends of democracy. And when people have turned the National Assembly to be like a place of a protest ground, retired police officers will go there and protest, and at the end people will go there and try to show their grievances, and the bureaucracy of getting result there is very, very challenging. But my concern is that, President, you can travel, but let's see the dividends of democracy. If that is not done, then we might be able to question the what do I call it, the longer days where our president is outside, which for me, I really think the citizen has that right to ask that question.
But the president have people on ground, all right, that can handle situations even when he's away. That's why we have ministers, we have the governors doing their own, we have SAs, we have parastatals being headed by different people that have potential. We have technocrats, we have administrators, we have a lot of them. Does it really matter if the president is away or not?
Well, it's really, when you look at delegation in politics, in politicians, you really know that a president, for example, or he wouldn't want to delegate some certain functions to you. Okay, let's look at the role of deputy governors in our political space. You really know that the deputy governor is merely restricted to some occasions, attending birthday parties, trying to represent their governors for burial ceremony. At the end of the day, you notice that that particular plan, how many people, the likes of Ganduji, if I'm right, we said they are like spare tires. So you see, except you are very, very resourceful as a deputy governor, then you really know that your boss will just be restricting you. You saw the drama that happened between the former governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, and Philip Shaibu. So you saw that even when when the governor then decamped, when he came to visit the former president Muhammadu Buhari in the villa, notifying him of his intention to leave the party and he's not going to continue because he had issue then with the then national chairman, which was Adams Oshomole. Before God will know, Baseki flew from Abuja to Edo State. The deputy governor, Philip Shai, was already conducting a press conference and they moved to the PDP. He got the ticket. He won the election. So the president might not really say, I have subordinate or I have special advisor. Even the special advisor, what I found out, equally ended up handling their own, hiring their own essay. So when the president, for example, or their principal pays them, they now remove part of their money to pay their salary. This is how governance is. And I think we should be able to tell ourselves the truth. We want dividends of democracy. Even you as a husband, if you are constantly traveling, one day when your wife say sit down on that chair, want to talk, so many things will be running from your head. Have I committed something? These are the typical politics in the family. So when you are expanding it, you really know that we should ask questions, and the president, the likes of this media age, should be able to answer those questions, and that is my take, honorably.
All right, that is Ben's take, honorably. Now, you just talked about politics now. A lot of things are happening in the political space. You know, the president, all right, as a matter of fact, like what is happening in the U.S., okay, the collaboration and all of that because of the security situation. For security issues, we have the Minister of Defense right there who is very capable. But then the issue of delegation of power in Nigeria, as it is right now, do you think, okay, because we're talking about delegation of powers now, if anything happens in Nigeria, for instance, people will always be calling the president. Take, for instance, somebody in your state, right there in Akwa Ibom, let me just say, for instance, or somebody from Benue, Kaduna, Sokoto, Kebbi, anything that happens in that state, people will still be calling the president. You know, oh, this hunger is the president, but people don't even care whether the governor is getting some form of allocation and supposed to do whatever they are supposed to do. Why that orientation? Because it is so disheartening that whatever happens, you know, people don't go the right channel. They don't know the right channel to follow. Everything is president. President is not around. That is why there was an attack in Kwara State. President is not around. That is why there was an attack in this place, in that place. What do you think of the issue of people in politics, politicians, not rising to the occasion, you know, holding on, owning up to their responsibilities? Take, for instance, governors. Do you know how many allocations they are getting? But nobody is even talking about it, and they are doing near to nothing. Everybody's eyes is on the president and his travel.
Well, Nigeria seems to be divided in some fabrics of the society, because prior to election, you will see these same politicians going around, you understand me, crisscrossing left and center to woo voters to vote. Sometimes you see some of these governorship candidates, they want to sit down with their akara woman, roasted corn, eating roasted yam. But the perception when they win election, honestly, the configuration of what the real politician will come to play. Because, for example, if we are asking of the president's name seems to be popular. There are some indigenous who may not know their state governors. I'm telling you the truth, because I have asked. Some of them might be calling their former governor. But the reason why the president seems to be known by everybody is because the president is the father of the nation. And when you look at how much the governors have earned, a commoner wouldn't want to go to the state government house to knock the gate and say he wants to demand accountability because the president have said that the governors are getting more money. It is just because, okay, let me take you back. When the governors were shouting on top of their voice, when the labor issue came up and they finally agreed to 70,000 naira, you are aware that there were some state governors who specifically said that they will not be able to pay this kind of salaries because once they pay, there will be no money to pay the workers and the running costs for the state. Then you will now begin to ask that, is it that the governors are not creative? Why will a governor, for example, believe that coming for a monthly pilgrimage in Abuja, getting the allocation from FAC, that will be enough to run his state, where about 70 or 80% of this money is used in payment of salary? It is because our citizens cannot really assess the governor. And that is why when you look at in fact, some group of citizens told me some few weeks ago that it looks as if when the governor leaves until, the politicians win the election until 4 years time. So what we are going to do, we may likely be staying at home and not going to vote because we may not have chances of seeing them. So this is a way of saying that if we don't get the dividends of democracy, we might pay the citizens, the contestant by staying at home, maybe possibly playing football or draft, because at the end of the day, it looks as if the democracy that the likes of our founding fathers, Nnamdi Azikiwe and other Awolowo, they paid the price so that we can get the real dividends of democracy, but it's becoming more challenging for we. And I think that if people are not getting the dividends of democracy, you will just find out that it is going to be a big challenge. No commoner will be able to go and ask a governor, maybe on his convoy, stop. We want to know how much you got from the president and let's see what you are doing. It is really because the politicians seems not to be looking at the citizens and how they can get the dividends of democracy.
Oh, all right, let's look at this now. Kanu, Nnamdi Kanu, others cancellation of Monday sit at home. You know, the governor of Anambra State have been talking about sit at home. And you know the response from the people because of the fear of unknown. But now, the cancellation is coming from Nnamdi Kanu. What do you think about that in just a minute?
Well, I don't know who is his media aide and how he's doing his job. Now he's in Sokoto. Geography does not prevent him from issuing out those information. That is an economy on its own. They sit at home every Mondays. I really know what it has caused. I think we should be able to bring the whole block together because this cannot sustain for a long period of time. And I think that the significance of that particular sit at home, if business are dying, then what is the purpose? And what the governor did seems to be in support of it. And I think we should see how we can revive that sector so that that sit at home can be completely eliminated.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Bernard Essen. Time is not allowing us because some persons will be saying, well, the governor has issued a statement giving instruction. The instruction is not going to be carried out until Nnamdi Kanu issued another one. And so some people will be confusing. Who is the owner of the place? All right. Well, thank you very much, Ben Essen, for joining us on Journalist Roundtable today. And of course, a very big thank you to you right there, Oladele, Joel Oladele, for joining us via Zoom. And every other person, it's a pleasure having you on Journalist Roundtable. We will return again for another edition. My name is Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Bye-bye for now.